that. Please do keep us informed as you are there with a vantage point of CNN and the Centennial Olympic Park. Now, we do have video. We showed it to you once just a few minutes ago. This was the explosion that occurred at about 1:20 this morning in Centennial Olympic Park.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well,
Get out there. Get out there.
Now you are seeing something that occurred at about 1:19, 1:20 this morning. As you saw and heard, there was a loud explosion and then a shattering of glass, but as Mark McKay just told us, no fire. Let's listen again.
Und es ist ein schrecklicher Moment. Es sind überall viele. Wir wissen nicht, was los ist. Es ist eine Bombe.
At the time this explosion happened in the park, and as you could see clearly, they were shaken, as was everyone else. Centennial Olympic Park has now been evacuated. It was evacuated very quickly because of the number of security people. When you went to the Olympics and go to the Olympics, you see how ever present the security people are. They are here from all over the United States, from various of the armed forces, and the Atlanta police, of course, plus county officials, state, and on up. We have now an eyewitness on the phone with us. His name is Tom Bacon. Tom, tell us who you are and what you saw and heard.
Well, I'm an attorney in San Francisco, and I was out here at the Olympics. We were watching the concert, and we were about 10 yards away from where the explosion was. We had just gotten up about maybe no more than 30 seconds before the explosion, and it began to walk away from the concert towards the back of the AT&T Village, when all of a sudden we heard this loud explosion coming right behind us from probably no more than 20 yards away.
There has been a suggestion this might have been a transformer. Did you see any indication of that? Any lights blowing or anything like that?
I'm not sure. My impression of it was that it was a tower where the people at concerts sit, who do the mixing board, that kind of thing. I didn't see any lights on it, but my impression of it was it had something to do with the concert going on stage. I don't know if anyone was in it or not. We couldn't see.
How tall a tower would this be?
Oh, I would say 20 feet.
And the band it was a live band, and they were using acoustic equipment?
Right, it was a live band, and they were playing at the time of the explosion. We had just been watching it. They played it for about 15 minutes. They were about into their fourth song when the explosion went off.
All right, Tom, then what happened? Did you start to run?
Well, the police and everyone started yelling, get down, there's a bomb. So we got down, and people started just running out of the park as fast as they could. We stood there for a minute just to see what was going on, but then we were afraid that there might have been some other kind of bomb or something else, and we ran out of there. They opened up a lot of the emergency exits and things like that and got the people out of the park very quickly.
So how long would you say you were in the park before you left?
We were right near the entrance, so not more than 10 seconds after the explosion, we ran right out of there.
Where are you now? Do you know what street you're on?
I'm on Spring Street.
Spring Street, all right.
Near the Weston Peachtree Plaza.
And are there a lot of people around you right now?
There's not too many right now. We were on the street just outside the park for a while, and there was tons of people there, and the police did a really good job getting them all out of there. But now there's just a kind of a bunch of people milling about, and doesn't seem to be any kind of panic or anything like that.
So there are some people left who are waiting to see what might have happened, and others perhaps have already left the scene, gone home, taken their families or whatever?
That seems to be my impression, yes. A lot of people were pretty upset and wanted to just get out of here.
What did you think when you heard this explosion?
Well, at first I wasn't sure what it was. I thought my initial reaction was that maybe it was like a special effect for the concert, but it was much too loud for that. I thought it was a bomb.
You heard glass breaking, as we did when we viewed this tape from German television?
Yeah, I think I did. I remember hearing a lot of debris falling all around us. That's kind of why we wanted to get down and get out of there, because there was...
What, was there a flash?
I didn't see any flash. Our backs were to the explosion when it went off. We were walking away. My sister-in-law, who was with us, she saw a flash.
Are you in a position to see the ambulances or to see what might be being done with the injured, Tom?
I was about 5 minutes ago. They had brought a lot of It took them a long time to get the people cleared out, and they brought a lot of ambulances in, and I saw a lot of ambulances in Centennial Park, and a lot of police, but I didn't see any ambulances leaving. I didn't really see any injured either. They kind of moved everyone away from there very quickly.
All right, so they pulled those ambulances right into the park and took the victims at that point.
Right.
Tom Bacon, a San Francisco attorney, we appreciate you talking with us. Perhaps you could stay on the line and we may come back to you in a moment. Right now we're going back to CNN's Mark McKay, who has been talking to us from Nike Park, a site adjacent to Centennial Olympic Park. Mark, is that where you still are?
Yes, Andrea, I'm noticing apparently some injured people are being brought out, at least the ones that can walk. We noticed a young lady, apparently her arm was in a sling. She just went by our location here, which is a good number of yards away from the park. I also noticed some people being attended to just up the way. Apparently, they again were injured in this explosion that occurred just a little over a half hour ago here at Centennial Olympic Park here in the heart of downtown Atlanta. It happened in the vicinity of the AT&T Global Village stage where, as you heard from the eyewitness account, there was a band on stage, a concussive explosion. I have seen a number of ambulances. They have lined up a number of ambulances here on Baker Street, which is adjacent to the park. I have not seen them come in as of yet, but they do have them apparently on standby to attend to the injured. Again, I am noticing a few more people are being helped out of the park who apparently were shaken up or were mildly injured by this explosion, Andrea.
You can see that people were shaken just by the video we're seeing now, which is coming to us live from Centennial Olympic Park. We're getting the information out to the viewers as fast as we can, and it isn't an impossible feat because, as you've heard us tell you, Centennial Olympic Park was constructed directly across the street from the CNN Center. We've literally watched it go up. About 1:15, 1:20 this morning, a percussive explosion which occurred in the vicinity, as Mark's telling us, of the AT&T Global Village stage. The park is centered by fountains and then ringed by these commercial pavilions, one of which is AT&T's. We are now being told that as many as 150 to 200 people may have been injured in this explosion. That is attributed to Associated Press. They are reporting as many as 150 to 200 people possibly injured in this explosion. We do not know the cause.
Andrea, if that's the case, that explains the amount of ambulances that have arrived on the scene. Again, there is a whole street, there's a city street that is literally lined with ambulances with their lights flashing, and they are literally waiting to get into the park area. The response, as you can imagine, with the security and such, it was immediate, it was quick, it was quite impressive. But we do see another ambulance that is leaving. But there's an entire city street here adjacent to Centennial Park that is lined with ambulances to attend to those who are injured in this explosion.
All right, we do know that security has been practicing for many months, really, for something of this nature, an emergency nature. Once again, we would stress that this is not being called a bomb. No one has said what it might have been, but it was a loud explosion which occurred without fire and without really smoke, Mark.
I'm sorry, Andrea, could you repeat that?
This explosion, I believe you said, occurred without, I know you said
Yes.
there was no fire and without really any smoke either.
Yes, we were literally making our way through the park at about 1:20 Eastern to get to our location, and we literally were shaken by this explosion that occurred. We were behind the stage area. We were behind the AT&T Global Village. So we literally were within just a couple of yards from the explosion. It startled you. It certainly got your attention. As we were being evacuated from the park, I looked up and did not see any smoke. I saw what appeared to be dust at the most. And park security then ushered everyone out. It was an orderly evacuation. Everyone, though, they were pretty stunned by the occurrence.
Mark, Associated Press once again telling us 150 to 200 injured people, and I know you've told us that you're really too far away to see just how many injured there might have been, but the ambulances have been coming and going for quite some time now.
I haven't noticed the going of the ambulances, Andrea, but I certainly have noticed the coming. There's, again, a city street lined with a city block lined with ambulances getting ready to get into the park area. We do not know the crowd estimate. Again, this occurred shortly after 1:20 Eastern. The park certainly was not packed, but it had a good crowd. There was a good crowd there. There was a big crowd right in the front of the stage watching the band that was performing. So the explosion occurred in the vicinity of the stage area, so I imagine that's where the majority of injuries occurred. We can't pinpoint the location of the explosion, but it certainly does seem to be in the vicinity of the stage, and there were a good number of people in front of that stage watching the band tonight.
Mark, are you saying that you haven't seen any ambulances leaving? Nothing go screaming away from there?
With my vantage point, I can't really see the exiting of the ambulances, Andrea. I do notice that a lot have converged in the park and on the perimeter of the park. If they are leaving, they may be leaving in a location that I can't view with my eyes right now.
All right, thank you, Mark. We're going to go now to another eyewitness, and there are many eyewitnesses because, as we've told you, the park was full, as it has been every night since the Olympics began, with people who sort of use it as a place to unwind and relax after the day's events. Stephen Cutone now on the phone with us. Stephen, please, where are you from?
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, and you were in Centennial Olympic Park tonight?
Yep, I was observing the concert.
Who was playing?
I'm not sure the name of the band.
Jack Mack and the Heart Attacks.
Oh, Jack Mack and the Heart Attacks.
Okay, obviously a fairly intense band there. What did you see, Stephen?
Well, there was a large crowd, festive crowd, a lot of people dancing around, a lot of people just walking around, and basically there was a large explosion, almost like a sound of you would almost think it was a large bomb going up, almost like a firework explosion that you would see here on the 4th of July. And just back off the concert stage, maybe 100 yards to the left, there was a scaffolding staging there where they would do it. Seemed like there was beaming lights onto the concert to for entertainment. And I believe that's where the bomb went off.
All right, we would like to not say that this is a bomb because we don't know that yet. I know you said it had a bomb-like sound to you, but no one has confirmed for us just what this explosion has been. Then what happened? What did you do?
Then I just grabbed the people I was with, and we ran off the street, and the police directed us off the main, out of the park, and onto the street, and just made way for ambulances and vehicles to approach.
How did you feel, and how do you feel now?
How do I feel?
Yes.
It's frightened. My heart is beating. I think there's a lot of anxiety in the air right now.
Yeah, tell me about the people around you. What are they saying? What are they doing?
It seems like a lot of things have calmed down. I'm at a little bit of a distance here now from where it took place, so I think there's a lot of people that are asking questions and a lot of people that aren't sure what exactly happened.
Stephen, are you at a vantage point to see the ambulances?
No, not at this moment.
All right. And you are here from Boston. Have you been long visiting the Olympics?
Yep, I'm down here I'm down here for the week. I was actually leaving tomorrow and seen a lot of different events, and it's been a lot of fun so far, and hopefully it will continue to be.
Yes, we'll certainly hope that this is something that is not too injurious to anyone involved, that the injuries are not much.
We were actually, where we were sitting was maybe 20 to 30 yards from the location where I believe the explosion took place.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened maybe 2 minutes early. I was looking up at the beams of light that were coming from there, and there were people on that scaffolding. Okay, all right. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen Cutone from Boston, Massachusetts, an Olympic visitor here to enjoy the Olympics, as you heard him tell us, and an eyewitness to this explosion that happened about 1:20. We have German television tape of the explosion. A German interviewer was talking with U.S. swimmer and Olympic medalist Janet Evans. They were having a pleasant little interview when the explosion happened. We'll go to that now.
But it's bothering you, right?
Well...
Get out there. Get out there. You got it going? You got it going?
Yeah.
Okay, meine Damen und Herren, es ist gerade Wir sind in Atlanta. Es ist gerade ein schrecklicher Schall, eine schreckliche Bombe. Und es ist ein
German television, courtesy, that tape is courtesy of German television. We thank them for getting that to us. Robert Abbott is a CNN producer. Once again, CNN right across the street from the Centennial Olympic Park where this explosion took place at about 1:20 this morning. People telling us, eyewitnesses telling us, that there was a 20-foot tower which was being used for the lighting system for a concert going on stage, and it seems to have been there on the stage at the AT&T Global Village where this explosion happened. Robert, how long have you been in the park? Did you see this explosion or hear it?
Yes, actually, I was in the Omni Hotel right across the street when I heard the explosion. I immediately left my room and entered the park and made my way towards the stage you were talking about.
Did you feel this?
I approached the stage. I saw in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 people on the ground receiving medical attention. The police then began to evacuate the park. I have since left and looped around the backside of the park where more people were medical attention. We are across the street at Nike Park, and we have received notification from the Fulton County Sheriff that another...
I'm sorry, Robert. We're seeming to have some sorts of audio problems. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Of course, the Olympics, the Centennial Olympics, the 100th modern Olympics, have brought people here from all over the world, and we're hoping that very shortly someone will give us some sort of a number so that people who are concerned about friends or family they know have been visiting the Olympics can get in touch with someone. Jim Bacon, a CNN producer, has talked with us earlier this morning about the explosion, and we go back to him now. He is in Centennial Olympic Park. Jim?
Yes, hi. Basically, we're about a block over. It seems to have calmed down just a little bit. But basically, we heard a tremendous boom, and we saw paper and what appeared to be shrapnel flying everywhere. At that point, everybody hit the deck, and everybody started running. And the police moved in very quickly and started moving barricades to get the people out of the way. We've heard conflicting reports of injuries. The first report that I did hear was of a police officer that had been hit with shrapnel, but that's unconfirmed at this point. But for the most part, we just got a chaotic scene that has seemed to calm down just slightly.
The Associated Press, Jim, is reporting 150 to 200 people injured, and we are going with that now as the latest information we have. Did you see the police? Can you tell us what police were involved in this? I mean, I suppose it was everybody who was in the park.
Basically, it seemed like they were coming out of the woodwork. Of course, all the closed officers immediately took action, and then all these plainclothes officers and plain cars came in immediately and started moving the people away. They did what seems to be a very good job of keeping everyone calm, yet moving the crowd away from the scene as quickly as possible, because it was a crazy scene. You had a ton of people on the ground, and you just sort of everybody's ears were ringing, and nobody really knew what happened. I think everyone at first thought it was maybe a speaker had blown out, or maybe it was a pyrotechnic display by the band, but at this point, obviously, that's not what it is.
No, obviously not, although we are not calling it an explosion, a bomb, nor is anyone else. It is an explosion of a concussive, percussive quality. Lots of fire trucks there, but no one is talking about it, any fire, seeing any flames. Is that true of you also, Jim?
That's true. We have not seen any flames. All we did see was what appeared to be a tall light tower, and the bottom of it just looked like twisted metal. And it was from that point where I saw all the debris flying away following the explosion. Haven't seen any flames, just lots of fire trucks and lots of people trying to get out of here and get as far away from this as possible.
We're going to...
I was with my pregnant wife, and of course the first thought that came to my mind was just to get her down, and my brother and my brother-in-law, and we wanted to get the heck out of there as soon as we could and still see what was going on.
Indeed. If we could now, we're going to take a look at what happened in Centennial Olympic Park just a few seconds after this explosion, which occurred about 1:15 this morning. Jim, if you will stay with us, we hope that you got your wife out of there and that she is all right.
3 minutes after the bomb. Over here, over here. There's another body. They're carrying somebody away. They're carrying somebody away right here in front of the AT&T Olympic Village. It's 1:20. There was we don't know where the bomb might have gone off at.
Down the pole.
Okay.
Go. To stay.
Yeah.
To stay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just experienced the first incidents of terrorism. Is it terrorism? Is it a firecracker? We don't know. We don't know. There's police. This is the thing in Atlanta that everybody, we're being ushered out of here. We're being ushered. We have seen 4 bodies on the tarmac. 4 bodies on the tarmac. We're leaving the location.
Keep going.
Come on, guys. Cutting away now from German television, we would like to clear up some misconceptions you may have got there from a reporter who was on the scene, saw the explosion, really wasn't sure what it was. We are not sure what it was, but no one is calling it a bomb. It is quite possible that it was a transformer. Several eyewitnesses have posed that possibility. What we do know is that there was an explosion from the vicinity of the stage at AT&T Global Village. It happened about 1:20 this morning. This is not being called terrorism. It is not being called a bomb. At the time of the explosion, the tower with lights on it seems to have been the central location of that explosion, according to eyewitnesses. There have been a number of people injured by what one eyewitness told us was flying shrapnel. He saw papers and shrapnel flying everywhere. No smoke, no flames, even though there are fire trucks on the scene. There are, as you can see here now live, as CNN is showing it to you live from across the street from the CNN Center, a number of ambulances. We have shown you as many as we can get close to, but suffice it to say that as many ambulances as have been standing on duty for the duration of the Olympic Games have been rallied to this park now to take away the injured or to treat them there. We are going now back to Mark McKay, and Mark, in the video we just saw, we actually saw a couple of the Olympic medical volunteer staff assisting there. They were recognizable by the Olympic volunteer shirt with the red on it. Those were volunteers from the medical corps. What else do you have for us at this point, Mark?
Andrea, over the past, 5 minutes or so, I've noticed at least a half dozen ambulances leave our location. Apparently, they are positioning these ambulances. There seems to be what appears to be a staging area on one of the streets that surrounds Centennial Olympic Park here. Apparently, a staging area for the ambulances, for the medical units, for the fire units. And again, within the past few minutes, I noticed at least a dozen ambulances leave their staging position and make their way around the streets and seem to position themselves to get themselves in a position to attend to the victims of this. Again, there are a number of hospitals that are within very close proximity. We are in the center of downtown Atlanta, and this explosion that occurred at approximately 1:20 Eastern, almost an hour ago, we were literally just a few feet away from the explosion, making our way through the park to get to this live location. It was a concussive explosion that startled you. You immediately, I thought, and listening to a few of the eyewitness accounts, I thought the same thing. I thought perhaps it was a pyrotechnics technique for the band. There was a band on stage at approximately 1:20. They were playing before a good number of people. The park was not packed. We've seen this park full of people over the past few days, but over the past few days, it's been a real gathering place. Tonight, the park has been a very big area where people have gathered. We now go to CNN producer Tony Florkowski, who is by cell phone. Tony, what do you see now?
Mark, after hearing an explosion, we ran outside, and within 5 minutes we're in the area. When we got there, there were a few bodies down. Didn't seem apparently very hurt, but there were ambulances putting them on stretchers and taking them out. We saw 3 people leave on stretchers. It was kind of a wild scene, and right now the whole park is secured. The police have cleared everyone out on the fringes of the park, including us, and we're just waiting to see what happened. It doesn't really have the sign of a bomb because there was no fire or smoke when I got there. So but no one can answer a question. I've asked a lot of questions, and no one has said anything yet.
Obviously, their first concern is to get the injured out of there, and we would point out one thing, that is that on a normal night, these ambulances would have possibly a harder time getting through to the hospitals than they will tonight, because some of these streets were cordoned off in the first place. There was only pedestrian traffic on them. Obviously, a lot of people have left the area frightened or tired or both, and so probably these ambulances will have no trouble getting very quickly to wherever it is they need to go.
By the time I got in there, quickly were in there. They were in there as fast as we were. It seemed like they had a very good plan going.
All right, we're talking once again about an explosion which happened in Centennial Olympic Park at about 1:20 this morning. The park still had a number of people in it who were there as Olympic goers enjoying the festivities. There are a number of pavilions which ring this park and a number of sound stages as well. There has been really almost nonstop entertainment at those pavilions and on those stages, and there was in fact a band going tonight. It was a rock band, I believe we could call it, and they were in the middle of a concert. People were listening when something happened. There was an explosion. We have shown it to you, and we'll no doubt show it to you again in a few minutes as recorded by German television. 10,000 journalists in Atlanta for the Olympics, and plenty of people rolling tape in the park, so throughout the evening we will probably have more sources for you. Mark, tell us what's happening now.
Andrea, I'm still hearing many more sirens now. I don't know if these are ambulances that are leaving the scene, but we have seen, in fact, yes, it is. There is one ambulance that is leaving the scene. We've seen a number that have been mobilized and leave what appears to be a staging area for the ambulances. They have left that area, and at least a dozen of them have been put in position around the park. You're right, Andrea. The streets around Centennial Park have been cleared of vehicles. It's been pedestrian traffic. Certainly, they shut down the downtown area for security purposes. So in terms of getting the injured out, they're having an easy time of doing that. Granted, it is after 2:15 Eastern time, and again, that had a lot to do with the amount of potential injuries that we had. This park, which has seen a good crowd, a good number of people in here at peak hours, and we're talking peak hours not only in the evening but during the day. Thousands and thousands of people here arriving at the park to enjoy the various venues that they've put up, to enjoy the food, to enjoy the band, and that's exactly what was going on. About approximately an hour ago, a band was playing. We were within a few feet of the stage when we heard the explosion. Startled by the explosion, the security folks quickly ushered everyone out of the park. We weren't close enough to determine, number one, what the explosion was, what the cause was. We did not see any smoke. We immediately were ushered out of the park. In Centennial Olympic Park, in fact, the surrounding streets have been sealed so that emergency units and paramedics can do their work.
Mark, you said the park wasn't as full as you've seen it other nights. Was it half full, three-quarters full? How would you describe it?
If I had to describe it, Andrea, it would probably be in the vicinity of maybe three-quarters filled. A lot of people, again, it was a very late hour. Granted, there was a band on stage, and there were a number of people in front of the stage. We suspect, and from what we heard from our various eyewitness accounts and our producers on the scene, we understand the explosion could have happened in the stage area or at a lighting tower, meaning the injuries, those injured were obviously watching the band. There were people in the perimeter of the park, but again, the park was not full to capacity, but there were, I can't estimate a crowd, but a couple of thousand wouldn't be far off.
All right, thank you, Mark. Because Centennial Olympic Park is right outside CNN Center, we have a number of people who were in the park. One of them is Monica Jones joining us now. She's a production assistant here at CNN. Monica, you were there. You still look a little bit shaken up.
Yeah, it was pretty traumatic. The bomb was very loud, very explosive. We felt the tremor. It was almost like we were at ground zero, if I could use that term. We were right by the sound stage. Stopped to use the restroom. We were on our way outside of the park, and we stopped and saw some friends. Talked to them for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, walked across the sidewalk and onto the other side of the barricade, and that's when it exploded. We were maybe 20 or 30 yards from where it happened.
Did you have your back to it, or did you see it?
We had our back to it, and then we immediately turned around to see what it was. We saw the smoke. We felt the tremor.
Now, you saw smoke.
Yes.
Was it smoke or was it dust?
It was smoke. And it dissipated, and we didn't see fire, so we didn't know if it was like a cherry bomb or an M80 or something like that. But the explosion itself was way too powerful for anything to be anything remotely like a firecracker.
All right, so we know it was more powerful than a firecracker and that it might have been a transformer, according to some eyewitnesses. We aren't calling it a bomb, but it's tempting because many people say it sounded like a bomb and felt like a bomb. Did you feel the ground shake?
Yeah, we felt the ground shake. It was just very loud, and I felt it inside me, almost like very loud drums beating.
Okay. Monica, then what did you do?
Well, we turned around to see what exactly was going on, if it was a prank or if it was something serious, and that's when we saw people running out of the park in almost like a stampede. We didn't want to get caught up. The security was there, fire teams were there. They blocked everything off so that we couldn't get through. And then we just stood there to watch and see what was happening for a while until the police escorted us elsewhere.
Did you see anyone injured? Did you see any evidence of injuries?
No, I didn't see any injuries myself, but I heard from others that there were bodies laying on the ground.
All right, this obviously has shaken you up somewhat.
Very much so. My family's coming to town tomorrow, and this is not going to help the situation.
Well, by tomorrow we may know exactly what happened and just how serious it was. We're being told by Associated Press reporting 150 to 200 people injured. Again, we do not know the extent of those injuries, and we don't know what caused this explosion that happened at about 1:20. Would you say about 1:20 in the morning?
Yeah, it was about an hour ago. We walked around for a while to see if we had just been talking with friends at the park, and so our immediate concern was to find out whether or not people we knew were injured. And we walked around for a while, couldn't find anyone, and we basically just stopped to talk to people to try to get their version of the story. And
now, you were already outside the park, so security was not concerned about getting you out.
No.
Right.
We had just crossed the sidewalk, walked off the sidewalk, and we're on the other side of the barricade.
What did you see from security?
I saw very rapid movement by security. I was impressed, actually, by the speediness of their coming to the situation. Immediate barricades were set up. Cop cars were there, fire trucks were there, ambulances were there, and people were moving rapidly.
I don't know. You can turn around here, Monica, and watch the monitor as I'm watching it. This is the scene now from Centennial Olympic Park. Normally there would be somewhat more lights on, and of course all the people have been taken out of the park since this explosion, which happened about 1:15, 1:20 this morning. It was an explosion in the vicinity of the sound stage at the AT&T Global Village. Immediately, security convened on the area. Everyone we've talked to tonight, and that includes a number of eyewitnesses as well as people who got there shortly after, have said that security responded very quickly. This is not surprising given the extent of the training they have had over the past few months. This is the sort of happening that has worried security greatly. It is not, however, known what happened exactly. They just were hoping that there would not be an emergency of this sort, but they've been training and obviously are plenty prepared for it. We have reports from the Associated Press that 150 to 200 people have been injured. We have not been able to confirm those figures ourselves. You can see now police are moving. There's movement here. They're moving into some sort of position near the park. We have not yet had confirmation on what has caused this explosion. The AT&T Global Village itself is a pavilion where athletes and families met and a meeting point for them during these very busy days of the Olympic Games. And the sound stage busy tonight, as it has been every night since the Olympics began, with big name entertainment. I was just in the Olympic Park myself a couple of nights ago. It was a very placid place to be. A lot of fountains, people laughing, having a good time, listening, sitting on the grass, what grass there is, and enjoying it. But obviously that has all changed tonight. People will be a little bit shaky for a while until they find out what might have caused this explosion. Monica, thank you for joining us. We have several other people who were in the park as well, and we'd like to talk to them now, so we'll let you step down and continue to monitor the situation while we talk to some other people. Diane Reyes was there too, and we will try to talk with her. 10,000 journalists in Atlanta for the Olympic Games. A number of people will have seen this happen. We've already shown you the explosion as recorded by German television. And it you saw the ground move, you saw movement, you heard the explosion, you saw a flash, and heard the sound of breaking glass. And since then, ambulances have converged on this scene from everywhere, really. We don't have a count of how many. Eyewitnesses have told us that victims have been carried out in various stages, no one reporting seeing anything that looked like terribly serious, life-threatening injuries, but we don't know. We simply don't know until we get more information. In the meantime, we are just trying to talk to the people who were there. And we are also efforting getting some security people so that we can see what they have to say about the situation from their vantage point. Security moving in very rapidly tonight to do what needed to be done, and that included clearing people out of Centennial Olympic Park. It was about 3/4 full at the time of this explosion. 1:20 in the morning is when many families have taken their children and gone home, but there were still a lot of people in this 21-acre park. It is looking like this now, as you see. Still a lot of the lights playing across it, but some of them have been dimmed. We don't know exactly what's going on in Centennial Olympic Park, but we do know there was an explosion this morning, and it has everyone on a high state of alert. We're going to hear now what one eyewitness had to say about this explosion.
We were all down there at the celebration of the century, and all of a sudden you hear a big explosion. It like went right through us. Like, you know, it was so loud, it penetrated us, and it was just real scary. We didn't know what it was, and then they just kept on playing.
It was an explosion. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just a small explosion. I was standing right there, across the street. Huh?
It was part of the show.
No, I don't think it was. It definitely wasn't part of the show.
They didn't even.
There were two people on the ground when it was over. It wasn't a part of the show for sure. Two people were absolutely injured on the street.
They never said anything. They kept on playing. And then they cleared us out after the second song.
They didn't know what happened. No one knew what happened, you know?
It couldn't have been a bomb. We were standing too close. We would have been on the ground. We felt it, but
Yeah,
I mean...
you felt it. Like,
You felt it. It wasn't.
yeah.
It was some kind of explosion.
Bomb or something else?
We don't
I
know.
don't think it was a bomb. It was too small.
I felt the impact of it, but I don't. You can't tell whether what. I don't know.
It was just too small to be a bomb.
I saw 2, but somebody said 10. I don't know.
They looked pretty bad.
The 2 that were down, I saw were, yeah.
We felt it in our clothes and our hair, but it didn't. I mean, it didn't knock us over or anything.
Somebody said the whole speaker amplifier system blew up. Somebody else said it's a bomb. I don't know. It was an explosion of some sort, though.
That much we do know, an explosion, a one-time, one-sound concussive explosion which happened about 1:20 this morning. This is a bird's eye view of Atlanta, and as you can see, the Centennial Park on its 21 acres was built, actually just finished days before the opening of the Olympics on June 19th. The Centennial Park sits directly across from CNN, which is adjacent to the Omni Hotel. So that gives you some idea of where we are talking to you from and how close we are to Centennial Park, which is why we're able to bring you all these live pictures so quickly. The Georgia World Congress Center has been the site of Olympic venues, the Georgia Dome nearby. This area very heavily traveled. Estimates prior to the Olympics were that there would be something like 700,000 people in the vicinity of Centennial Olympic Park at any given time of the day or reasonable hours of the night throughout the Olympics. And certainly it seems to me as though we've seen hundreds of thousands of people there. The park about 3/4 full this evening when this explosion happened. Now, you just heard eyewitnesses who said they thought it was too small to be a bomb in their opinion. No one is calling it a bomb. That is purely speculation from eyewitnesses. It has also been called possibly a transformer blowing. A lot of power, a lot of electricity being generated there in the park, as you can easily see when you see the numbers of lights and consider all these big name groups who were playing there, the electricity they would use, pavilions, commercial pavilions, an Olympic superstore. All right, we're continuing to watch live. We'd like to go now to a couple of young women who were in the park, too, as I understand it. Diane Reyes, if I could talk to you first. Tell us what you saw and what happened.
Well, we were walking away from the AT&T Village, and all of a sudden we heard this explosion, and we turned around, the ground shook, and all we saw was smoke, and we just stood there in stunned silence. And nobody moved. Everybody turned around. There were like hundreds of people around us. Everybody turned around and looked to where the explosion came from. And all we saw was smoke, and there was just nothing. And then all of a sudden you heard ambulances and police sirens, and tons of cars and motorcycles came by, and cops were running. Everybody was coming towards where the explosion had sounded from. And all of a sudden there was chaos. Everybody around the area started running towards the scene to see exactly what was going on. But the cops had started barricading the site where the explosion had happened, and people were running away from the scene. People were going towards the scene. It was sort of chaotic. And people were coming up to us telling us that they'd seen bodies on the ground, but they weren't really sure what exactly had gone on. It didn't really sound like a bomb. It didn't really look like there was a fire or any sort of